Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to an episode of Bulldrek. My name is Bull, and this is the Patreon-supported video log that I do once every week or two, and just talk about anything and everything. This week, I'm going to apologize. I'm kind of playing around with some different lighting, and this isn't really working because I have there's an overhead light that I have on, and it's just sort of kind of shining down. Probably a good thing I don't have my head completely shaved today, because otherwise you guys would be probably getting a lot more glare. As it is, I can see there's a good bit coming off my forehead here. So I apologize about that. I'm also playing around with a different sound setting. I discovered that after 6 months or so of owning this thing, that the USB camera that I use also has a microphone on it. I remember seeing the setting a while back, and I just never kind of played with it, since I usually use the headset mic. But I figured I'd try this out and see how well this works. So this could be an absolutely terrible video as far as sound and video quality. So I apologize for that. But fortunately, this isn't really a video that needs a high quality, so we're just going to kind of talk. Alright, so this week I'm going to talk a little bit about Sharknado. Kind of do a little review of that, as the title of this video will probably indicate. I'm not a huge, I'm a big I'm not like this crazy Sharknado fan or anything like that, but I enjoyed the movies. I remember watching the first one when it came out, and I kind of was watching mostly just out of, are they really doing this? Because it just looked so silly and terrible. And it really was. I mean, I will be the first one to say, the Sharknado movies are not good movies by any stretch. They are terrible. But the thing is they revel in their terribleness. They know they're terrible. They don't make any, they don't pretend to be anything other than absolutely awful. But they just roll with it, and they just run with it. They take the concept and go. And this was kind of sparked a little bit by, I was talking to a friend of mine. I got this in the mail from a buddy, Blake, a couple of months ago. I was feeling kind of down in the dumps, so he sent me this as sort of a way to say, hey, hope you're feeling a little better. I don't really collect pops and stuff like that. Actually, let me kind of, if you look on my shelf behind me there, you can kind of see right about here, if I can get my, it's weird playing with the camera here. I have a couple of old Mighty mugs. The Indiana Jones one, a buddy of mine, Carl, got it for Christmas a number of years ago. And I got a Storm Shadow and a Snake Eyes one that my buddy Kurt gave me, knowing that I was a huge Shadowrun fan, or G.I. Joe fan. Also a big Shadowrun fan, but specifically G.I. Joe. So, let's kind of, let me center that. But I don't really collect stuff like that otherwise. Because I know not a lot of people are really into these pops. And I got some friends that are really, really big pop collectors. And I even got one friend, Jennifer Ings, who does, she does custom pops. And she's actually made friends with a number of celebrities. John Barrowman from Arrow and Torchwood and Doctor Who specifically. And she's made pops for them, which is pretty cool. But anyways, Sharknado. Off topic a little bit. Sharknado. The first Sharknado movie, like I said, I kind of went into kind of going, what is this? And like I said, it was pretty terrible, but I had a lot of fun. It was interesting, though, because sci-fi original movies, because a lot of times they're just buying stuff that's direct to DVD anyways. They're not really, a lot of those sci-fi original movies are not made specifically for sci-fi, or at least not initially. I'm not entirely sure about the Sharknado, the first Sharknado movies. I know the last few were, because that was like the highest rated thing that sci-fi had ever done, just about, which is also crazy. But the first Sharknado movie kind of followed. A lot of sci-fi original movies tend to take themselves somewhat serious, even if they've got a completely ridiculous premise. Every now and then they realize the premise is stupid, and they kind of, you know, move away from it, but, you know, they kind of embrace the campiness of it. There was the one of those, it was like Mega Shark versus something, I don't remember which one, but it was like the one that had like Tiffany in it maybe, or it was one of those pop singers from the 80s, one of the teeny pop girls. But anyways, that one kind of embraced the goofiness of it. But a lot of them don't. A lot of them kind of just play it straight, which is really odd. Sharknado kind of played it straight for the first, like, 3/4 of the movie. And then, like, right at the end, I mean, it started going crazier and crazier, and then, like, right at the end, it just kind of goes off the deep end. I'm going to spoil it a little bit because, why not? Like, it was really odd because in the first Sharknado movie, like, just out of nowhere, there was the main character, and then there was this girl that he was with, the waitress that worked at his restaurant. And she's been fighting with him the whole movie. And then at one point, they're like on this helicopter, and just out of nowhere, shark flies by, swallows her. And it was a really bizarre, like, holy crap moment. But then later on in the film, he's standing there, he's got a chainsaw, and the shark comes barreling down at him. So he raises up the chainsaw and chainsaws the shark in half of it as it's trying to eat him. So that was over the top. But then, like, a few moments later, he, like, sees, like, one of the shark's stomachs moving, cuts it open, and it's the girl. And she's still alive. So that was just kind of crazy. But then, like, Sharknado 2 and Sharknado 3, just, like, they took those concepts and went, no, not nearly silly, stupid, or goofy enough, and just went, boom, right to the moon. Because, you know, Sharknado 2, you end up just, I mean, New York just gets flooded and surrounded by sharks, and the fact that there's a second of these Sharknados, in and of itself, is pretty awful and stupid, but, you know, whatever, we're running with the premise. So he's in New York, and he ends up using, like, some sort of freezer thingy. They blow up these cryogenic, or the, like, Freon tanks or something that are at the top of the Empire State Building to like, freeze the tornado or some such. Like I said, it was just really, really silly and really, really goofy. And then, of course, you get to the third one where there's multiple Sharknados going on, all up and down the whole coast. By this point, in the second movie, they'd gotten the cast of Good Morning America involved, I believe. Al Roker and them. They'd gotten a lot of that cast involved, and like, so there was these running jokes where you'd see these weather reports of, oh yeah, you know, there's going to be 10 inches of shark today. You know, the third movie, just like I said, takes it to a whole new level where there's tornadoes all up and down, and then they go into space and they fire the Star Wars defense laser down at the tornado to destroy it. And of course, they got David Hasselhoff to play the main character's dad, and just all kinds of goofiness and silliness. But the thing is, like I said, the movies embrace it and just run with it like it's no tomorrow. There's one of my favorite scenes is in Sharknado 3. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. The kid from Malcolm in the Middle. Malcolm. He's in the movie. Frankie Muniz, that's his name. He's in the movie. Him and the waitress from the first movie that I mentioned, who has kind of become this, like, badass shark hunter herself. Her and him have been traveling around the country in, like, this big armored RV. And at one point, they get stuck in this Sharknado, and like a little Sharknado hits, and it's a small one, because, you know, there's such a thing. And he's got some sort of, like, death laser gun thing on the top of the RV that is good for, like, dispersing the tornadoes. Because apparently, you know, according to the movies, if you basically set off an explosion inside the tornado, it counteracts the force of it, or something along these lines. So they have some sort of gun laser thingy that can do the same thing. The girl and the main character are cut off from the RV, so Frankie Muniz's character's all alone. and he's got to climb on top of the RV. And as he's reaching the ladder, a shark comes flying by and just bites his leg off, just out of nowhere. So then he's like, all hurt. And then he limps his way up the ladder, and as he gets to the top of the ladder, another shark comes by, poof, one of his arms is gone. So he starts crawling his way over to the laser. And then as he's doing this, another shark comes by, gets his other arm, another shark comes by, gets his leg. So at this point, he's basically just a torso and a head. And he's kind of doing the Black Knight thing from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I can do it. And he sort of just manages to get over it. He manages to headbutt the firing button to fire off the laser right at the very end. And then, of course, he gets eaten by a shark, finished off. Because, of course, he does. Which is probably a good thing, because, being an armless, legless torso would kind of suck. But anyways, but that's like one of my favorite things, because it just sort of encompasses the campiness. Encompasses. I think that should be a new word to just describe how campy something is. It encompasses it. It encompasses how campy the entire franchise really, truly is. And then, of course, down at the very end of the movie, like I said, Hasselhoff is in the movie as the main character's dad. He's an astronaut. Or he was an astronaut in training, but he never got to go up. So they break out a space shuttle, and they fly up there, him and the main character, and they get up there and they fire the lasers and everything like that, and manage to stop it. But then, like at the end, Hasselhoff has to sacrifice himself, supposedly. He has to sacrifice himself, and the son has to get home somehow. But the shuttle's been destroyed, and so he's like, at one point he's in a spacesuit, and he manages to get in, ride a shark down, and uses the shark as a heat shield, somehow landing and surviving. It's just corny and campy. Oh, and his wife, Tara Reid's character, is pregnant throughout this whole third movie. Oh, and she had lost a hand, so she's got this little chainsaw hand. So she's doing sort of the Ash thing from Evil Dead, which is also funny. But at one point, she gets eaten by a shark as well. So the main character gets down, and he's bummed because his dad's stranded in space. His wife got eaten by a shark, his wife and baby. But then he's on this little island, and a shark comes down, falls next to him. And then he sees the shark's stomach moving, and just like the first movie, and suddenly you hear a chainsaw start up, and it's the wife. She cuts it open. Then she hands the little newborn baby through it, because she gave birth in the stomach of the shark. And then she climbs out. But then, right at the very end is sort of this cliffhanger thing. A piece of the shuttle debris falls on her. Or is falling on her, but you don't see what happens. And they leave it open-ended because apparently they did this Twitter campaign thing to see whether her character lives or dies. And it has been since revealed in the most recent trailer, because there is a new movie coming out. There's been 3 Sharknadoes so far. And there is a fourth movie called Sharknado: The Fourth Awakens. Because of course it is. And that'll be out next month sometime. I'm not entirely sure of the exact release date, but... And they reveal the fate of Tara Reid's character in that movie. Apparently it's been spoiled because they actually released a trailer that reveals whether she's alive or dead. I will leave that up to you to go find out for yourselves. But, yeah, like I said, the Sharknado movies they're not good. Don't go into them expecting coherent plot or anything like that. But they are just a kind of a fun, goofy, cheesy, B-movie rambling mess of a weird time. I think that if you got together with a few of your friends, maybe made it a drinking game, it would be amazing. But even just watching it solo is kind of fun. I mean, like I said, they're terrible movies, but they're just, because they embrace them. Plus, especially in the second and third movie, and the fourth movie, they'll continue the trend. You can also play Spot the Cameo. Because apparently they loved to get celebrities. A lot of celebrities are lining up to do these little cameos, which is really hilarious. It's just goofy. In the third movie, George R.R. Martin gets killed, which is really funny. Um, it's just, like I said, so you get all these weird little cameos, and it's just kind of funny to watch and see, and, you know, oh, I know that guy. You know, oh, that's Chris Jericho. Why is Chris Jericho the wrestler in this movie playing a ride operator at, you know, MGM Orlando? Who knows? Who cares? It's just fun. So yeah, if you haven't had the chance, check out the movies. I think they're on Netflix now. But yeah, you know, get a chance, check them out. They're a lot of fun if you haven't watched them yet. And prepare yourself for the Fourth Awakens coming up here in less than a month some point. So, all right, I just kind of want to talk about those, so I'm all done with that. As I said, this is a Patreon-supported video log. If you like this, check out, I do some Let's Play videos. I do some Shadow Talk videos where I talk about Shadowrun-related things, the Shadowrun role-playing game. I've also started up an actual play Shadowrun series where I'm running a game for some of my Patreon guys, and I record that. If you're interested in watching any of that stuff, it's all here on my YouTube channel. Check it out. I also do creative writing, fiction, and game rule stuff, and that's exclusive to my Patreon backers. If you're interested in supporting me, because Patreon makes me able to do this sort of stuff, if you're interested in supporting me, check out the link in the description below, and consider becoming a patron. All right, I appreciate you watching. Have a good one, and take care, and enjoy the sharks.